Hi, it's Intrepid Eater here. I'm out today foraging for wild stinging nettle. One of my favorite wild edibles. It pops up in the springtime. Right now in Ontario it is early May, and that's a perfect time to be harvesting this stuff. You'll see I have my white glove on just because it is stinging nettle and will sting your skin if you touch it with your bare skin. You might notice an extremely upset red-tailed hawk screaming behind me today. Not sure what's going on there. So wild nettle, which we have right here, is an awesome spring wild edible. The leaves can be cooked much like spinach in pretty much any preparation. It has an awesome taste. It's not bitter. They're just lovely. But as I mentioned, the plant can actually sting you and cause a really itchy burning rash, which isn't fun at all. So it's actually, you can see here, these little needles that cover the base of the leaves and all the stem, and those needles actually are full of kind of a mild poison that the plant will inject into you, much like a hypodermic needle. It's not that dangerous, it just really sucks to be stung. So the stem itself is actually very tough, and the mature plants, you can actually break it down and use it for cordage. It's so tough. So we don't want any of that. The taller the plant gets, this one's only about 8 inches taller, so once the plant gets to be several feet, the leaves get pretty tough as well. So what you want to do is find the young leaves and young plants in the springtime. Those are going to be the most delectable and tender. When you approach the plant, usually there's going to be a lot more of it around. So where I am here, there's all sorts of nettle kind of popping up in amongst the grasses. What you do is take with your glove the top, shoot off like that. And I have my bag here, and I might take 1 or 2 more leaves. The plants are very opportunistic and grow everywhere, and they can withstand quite a heavy harvest, so I wouldn't worry about over harvesting them too much. So I just go around and collect all of these top shoots, and those are going to be the most tender leaves, and they're going to be delicious, and they're going to be nice done up like spinach. In order to find nettle, it's generally going to be close to a water source, like where I am today. Not always, but usually somewhere pretty damp. Looking for like roadsides, ditches, old farm fields, anywhere nearby a creek is likely going to grow them. Nice places to fish. I usually have a ton of nettles, so you can look there. I'm sure a lot of you have discovered them by accident in different places. Yeah, so just look around when you're out for a walk. Just look for these dark green patches, and you'll see pretty easily that it is nettle just by those little stingers all over the plant. If you're unsure, you can always touch the plant and see if it stings you, and that will be a good indication whether it's stinging nettle. So I'm gonna pick these for a little while here, move along the riverbed and see what else I can find. I'm sure there's lots more plants here, and I'll come back in the kitchen and see what we can do with them. Okay, so I'm back at home here. I have all the nettle that I harvested next to the creek. I was thinking today of doing a pasta with lemon and ricotta. Nettle goes so wonderfully with nettle and ricotta. I think it'll be really nice. I have about half a pound, or about 230 grams or so, of dry nettle here. It's obviously in a bag, and that's protecting it from my hands from the sting. In order to store the nettle, it's good to keep it in a bag like this in the fridge, pre-washed. So what I'm going to do to start is wash this up, give it a rinse, and then get it cooking. Okay, so I have my washed nettle here. It might seem like a lot, and it is a lot, but this stuff will reduce down to almost nothing. So this will probably go down to like at least 1/4 of its size. So I won't worry about the amount too much. I have just about 2 cups of water here in my pan, and I'm going to use my tongs because this hasn't been cooked yet, so it can still sting me. I'm going to use my tongs to put the nettle into the pan along with the water. And I'm gonna just boil that, get it hot, and I'm gonna boil it down until it's nice and wilted. And that will take probably about 5 minutes or so. So my nettle has been cooking for about 5 minutes now. We don't want to cook it too long, we just want to cook it just until it's cooked down, it's darker green, the stingers have been deactivated, which only takes a few minutes in hot water. We don't want to cook it forever and have all the nutrients kind of leak out. So just a quick blanch. From here, I'm just going to drain it in a colander and run some cold water over it. So as you can see, our huge bowl of nettle has been reduced to a couple handfuls. So all I did was rinse it out in the colander until I could handle it, and then under cold water, and then I squeezed out the water pretty aggressively and kind of fluffed everything back up, and this is what we end up with. From here, what I'm going to do is just take the knife and run it through a few times so we don't get any large stringy bits of the nettle or the stems. Because these are mostly nettle tops, the stems are still attached. So we just want all those kind of stems chopped up so we don't get one long one when we're eating the pasta. So it doesn't have to be fancy or anything, you just want to chop through this a few times. So when we toss it into the pasta, it'll be nice and incorporated. That should do. I'm also going to do up 2 garlic cloves. This is one massive garlic clove, but you can do 2. We're just going to mince them to add to the pasta. So to mince garlic, like you just saw, you just squish it down with the blade of your knife. That allows you to take all of the skins off very easily. And then I'm just going to be slicing them thinly, like so. Turning around, and then going through back and forth with them. Just keep running the blade through the garlic over and over again until you start to achieve the size you want, which for this recipe, I want a pretty small mince on my garlic, so I'm not getting any big bites of it. I want that garlic flavor to be interspersed throughout the whole dish. So I'm going to go quite small, which means I'm going to run my knife through quite a few times. You could just use a garlic press, but when you cut garlic with a knife like this, you can really choose which size of cut you want, whether that is kind of a larger chop where you get like a little bites of garlic in your food, or a nice mince like this. And I don't know if you can see, but there's very little juice that's spilled out of this garlic, so it's holding all that flavor in, while a garlic press will squeeze all the juice out. It's not to say you can't use a garlic press, because it does save a lot of time, and if you're trying to feed your kids in a hurry, you might not have time to chop garlic like this, but I actually enjoy it. Okay, that's looking good to me. So I have my nettle and the garlic. What I'm going to do next is bring a pot of water to boil for the noodles for my pasta, and I'll get the sauce together. Okay, so I have the water going on behind me. I'm going to use the linguine for this. You could use spaghetti, spaghettini, fettuccine, kind of any long noodle. You could even go into the short, like farfalle or penne, but I kind of want to do like a long noodle for this dish. So about half a pound or so of this, I'm just going to put in the water. Okay, noodles are on. We're going to make the sauce. So to make this, I'm going to add the garlic that we minced to this bowl. Add about a cup of ricotta cheese. I like to use the thicker stuff and try to avoid the light versions. So, approximately a cup. I'm going to just pack it in here. That's about right. Okay. Then we're going to take a lemon, and I have my trusty zester here. I really like this tool. It allows you to just peel off nice, pretty strips of lemon. You can also use a rasp like this, or you could use a cheese grater, or just use a knife and chop it up the old-fashioned way. But I really like this little tool. Okay, so that's the zest. I'm going to take the majority of the zest and put it in here. But I'm going to set aside just a tiny bit for garnish. I'm going to take my lemon that I zested and cut it in half, and then squeeze in the juice into our sauce, making sure to catch any seeds. Okay, that's looking good. Let's wash my hands. Now I'm just going to add some pepper. I like quite a bit of pepper. And a pinch of salt. And I'm going to stir all that up. Make sure that garlic gets incorporated in there nicely. Beautiful. Okay. I'm going to continue cooking my noodles until al dente, and then we'll put everything together. Okay, so the pasta has been cooked al dente. I'm going to take a measuring cup. I'm going to reserve approximately a cup of the pasta water. Set that aside. Then I'm going to take a little knob of butter, maybe half a tablespoon or so. Melt it in the pan. And I'm going to add my stinging nettle, as well as the noodles. So instead of draining the colander, I'm just going to put them directly into the pan like this. Okay, so that's it for the noodles. Just going to give everything a stir here. Start to combine it all. And I'm going to add that, about half of that pasta water back in. Just going to mix that around and let the pasta cook for another minute or two, just in that bit of pasta water. It will soak everything up. Add a little bit more. And I just want to incorporate all that stinging nettle, get it mixed up completely with the pasta. It tends to bunch a little bit after you squeeze it, so I want that completely stirred in and completely incorporated. Okay, from here I'm going to add that ricotta sauce we made. You don't want to cook this a lot. You basically just want it warmed through and coating all of the noodles. It may take, depending on how much you have here, a little bit more pasta water to do that. I think I'll use all of mine today. And then once again, you're just stirring that in over gentle heat. You don't want it boiling or cooking too much. You just want it to coat all of the noodles. Okay, so it's time to plate. So I'm going to take the tongs here and pull the pasta and kind of put it on the plate in a spinning fashion like so. That just creates nice little bundles of noodles. That looks really pretty on the plate. Okay, a little bit of nettle on top. It's good. I'm gonna give it a little more pepper and some Parmesan cheese. Like I said, there's never enough Parmesan cheese. It's looking good. My reserved lemon zest, which will look really pretty. I have just a little lemon wedge there and some chili flakes. It's completely optional, but I always like a little bit of chili flakes with my pasta. These are Aleppo chili flakes. Okay, so we have nettle pasta with ricotta and lemon sauce, and it looks incredible. Okay, moment of truth. Time to try this out. And it's not likely going to be easy to eat on camera. Oh, that's delicious. You got all that flavor from the garlic coming through. You got the richness and saltiness of the cheese, the Parmesan and the ricotta. You have brightness from the lemon. And the nettle is really pulling its weight too. It's a subtle flavor, but it's really there. It's nice and peppery. It's just delicious. I'm really impressed with this dish. It is so easy to make, super simple, and a great way to use a wild edible. I recommend you get out there and try picking some stinging nettle and bringing it home and making a dish like this. It's just awesome. Well, that's it for me today. If you're hungry for more, be sure to check me out on Facebook and Instagram as Intrepid Eater, and like and subscribe on YouTube. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.